Hi, hello, and welcome to PJs and Pages with Danielle. I'm Danielle, and I am a stay-at-home mom who reads a lot of books. Today, basically what I want to do is just kind of get into my head a little bit, or get out of my head. I don't know. I want to get what's in my head out and just kind of like put it out there into the world. I've been thinking a lot about my bookish goals, how I see my book collection accumulating, and what I want to do about that. So I've really been considering a lot the consumerism of bookish hobbies. So we all know there's reading books, that is a hobby, but there is also buying books. That is a huge hobby in and of itself. And then adding books to your TBR, whew, that's like a whole separate hobby. I suffer from all three. So I want to take you guys through kind of a tour of my library, just so that way you can see what I've got accumulated. I want to talk about how it got to that point. I want to talk about where I see it going in the future, and I want to talk about how I'm planning on getting it to that point. So first things first, let's take a tour of my bookshelves. So first we have this lovely cart. This is the only thing that's organized. Nothing else in my house, in my life, is organized the way that this cart is. It's beautiful. I love my TBR cart. These are all the books that I'm planning on reading in 2024 as of this moment. Things will obviously get added and taken off of it as I'm reading, but this is my beautiful organized cart. Now, here we have some books stacked for a video that I am planning. We've got mess. And then we've got some more books stacked from a prior video. And then, wait for it, there are my shelves. So as you can see, oops, maybe you can't. Hold on, can I flip this? No. The top two shelves are all shelves that are all books that have been read. So those I've already read. Here, we've got a random Little House on the Prairie that needs to go in the kids section. And then we do have a random, these two stacks of books have been read, but everything else from the third shelf down is all books to be read. That's just books to be read. And we're not talking about my son's library of board books and children's books. We're not talking about the classroom library that I have from when I was teaching. No, this is just the adult fiction and nonfiction that I have on my shelves. So that brings us to today. What am I planning on doing about this addiction that I have? Because I have an addiction to buying books. And honestly, it's not good for my wallet. It's not good for my house. Apparently, according to my husband, your foundation can be affected by how many books are in your house. Did you know this? I did not. I was today years old, guys. I'm 31 years old and did not know that my house might fall down around me because of my collection, my book hoarding. So we're gonna have a chat about that. So as I said, I had a Book of the Month membership and an Aardvark membership. Those I canceled last year, but I do still have my Illumicrate, Fairy Loot, and Owlcrate adult box books only subscription. I don't get all the little trinkets and stuff that come with it. I'm not that far gone, guys. I'm not. But I do have a lot of books, and I just keep accumulating them, and I need to unhaul some of them. So the first thing that I want to throw out there into the world, getting it out of my head and knowing that it's going to happen, putting it on the internet so that way I'm held accountable, is that I'm going to unhaul some books. At some point this year, I'm going to go through the books that I've already read and get rid of any that I am not planning on ever reading again, or don't hold some really sentimental value to me. It was passed down from great-great-grandma, whoever. So if it's not one of those books, it needs to go. And then the next step is to go through my TBR and be real honest with myself about which books I'm really gonna read and which ones have been sitting there because, yeah, I thought it was a good idea at the time and now maybe it's not. So that's the first thing I wanna put out there. I will be doing an unhaul. I'm gonna try out Pango. If you guys have suggestions as to how I can get rid of some of these books, I'd love to hear them. Please leave your comments down below. But I need to unhaul a good amount of books. The next thing is that I want to reevaluate my subscription boxes. I tend to accumulate, I get the subscription boxes and I have every intention of reading the books the month that I get them, but I never get to them, right? And so then they just start stacking up and stacking up and stacking up, and I've got all these books, and do I even know whether I like the books or not? No, I don't know. So here's what I want to do. I want to plan a few vlogs for this year to go through my backlog of my subscription boxes. So a book of the month one, an aardvark one, Fairy Loot, Illumicrate, and Owlcrate. I want to do those 5 vlogs, and I want to go through my backlog of books and determine whether these are boxes that I really want to continue having because I love the books. I think they're fantastic quality and I want to support that box, or whether honestly, like, the books are pretty, but the content inside just isn't doing it for me, and there's no point in keeping books like that, no matter how pretty they are, unfortunately. There's just not enough space, apparently, in my life. So I want to do that. I've already canceled my Book of the Month and Aardvark subscriptions, and it's been about a year now, and I'm not missing it. I thought I would miss it more. I thought I would have serious FOMO, and honestly, every once in a while I see a book that's gotten selected for them, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I could have that book, but realistically, like, I can just go to the store and buy that one book when I'm ready to read it. I can go to the library and request it. Let's not get started on the library. We're going to talk about the library. Actually, let's talk about the library. Let's talk about the library. So I joined my local library's the branch Friends of the Library program. They actually have made me the social media manager. I don't know what they're thinking because I don't know what I'm doing, but we're gonna give it a go. And I got to learn a lot about how the library operates, and I was really impressed with the things that I found out, and kind of ashamed at myself for not utilizing my library as well as I could be. So that's one of the things that I want to add to my 2024 goals is utilizing my local library. I do use the library for my son. We go to toddler story time programs. We go to, when they have special events for toddlers, we go to those as well. I get him books. I borrow books for him personally for the library. And then I also get all of his books that we use I do a tot school for him. For his tot school, I get all of those books there. So, because I homeschool him, and I am planning on continuing to do this homeschool and doing all of the books through the library. So I do utilize the library a lot. We're there every week, several times a week. They know us by name, they know us by face, we're regulars, but I don't ever use it. I think I've borrowed 2 or 3 books in the 2 years that we've lived here now. And it's a shame because I remember loving getting books at the library when I was a kid. And I really want to go back to that. I feel like I got so caught up in the consumerism of buying books that I've kind of left behind some of the love of reading. And that it doesn't have to involve money at all, honestly, if you don't want it to. So I want to start using my local library. There's a lot of books that I get from subscription boxes, and even just books that I pick up and I'm like, oh, I want to read that, and I grab it and I buy it, that I read it and then realize I'm never gonna read it ever again. Like, this is a one-off book. It was fantastic, don't get me wrong, 4 or 5-star book, but I have no intention of ever reading that book again. Like, especially the sad ones that I don't want to be traumatized more than once in my life. Yes, fantastic story. Don't need to go through the trauma and the horror of it a second time. So those books, I really only need to read them one time. I could get them at the library. A lot of my Book of the Month books, I hate to say it, are books like that I would never reread. And they were fantastic books. They're fabulous books. They're books that I would highly recommend, but they're not books that I personally am going to be rereading. So do they need to be on my shelves? Do they need to be taking up space in my life is the question. And I think I need to reevaluate that. My biggest concern with that is that I am an annotator. I like to write in my books. I like to highlight. I like to write notes because I'm a detective when I'm in a thriller, and I like leaving fluffy commentaries in my romances, and I have thoughts during fantasy books. It's just who I am. And I can't write in a library book, obviously. So I do have concerns about that, but I do know that I could use my Libby and get books sent to my Kindle, and I can still annotate that way. So that is an option for me. And then I think that there's gonna have to be another way for me to annotate physical books. There's gotta be a way to do it. I'm gonna look into it. This is my note to self: figure out how to read a library book without writing in it, because you need to stop writing in all your books, my friend. Yeah, I need to use my library more often. I use my Kindle very, very frequently, but there's a lot of books on my shelves that honestly, I don't need a physical copy. I could have been fine getting a Kindle copy. And I get so many emails about sales for books. So, okay, use my local library. Let's talk about my Kindle now. Besides using my Kindle for library books, there is Kindle Unlimited, which I pay $10 a month for. Tons of books on Kindle Unlimited, and I have several that I actually recommend. I'll make a video about my Kindle Unlimited recommendations. But on top of that, on top of Kindle Unlimited, there's programs that you can subscribe to via email that send you information about when books are on sale. So like, for example, I got, what's that one that's really popular on like Book Talk right now? A Dowry of Blood. A Dowry of Blood is like a really popular book on Book Talk right now. It's like a Dracula retelling, polyamorous, lesbian, whatever. I honestly, it wasn't for me, but you know what? I didn't buy the physical copy. I paid $1.99 for it. So I don't regret the fact that I DNF'd it, and I will talk about more in my January wrap up why that is. But basically, I don't feel bad about it not being on my shelf. I don't feel bad about it being on my shelf because it's not there. It's in my Kindle. And I should do that more often for other books. I really should start with a Kindle book. And then if it's a book that I love and I need to have in front of my face, showing it off to everybody in the world, then buy the physical copy. But if I don't need the physical copy, I don't think I need that book anymore. I think between using the library and buying Kindle books, that'll help considerably in cutting down on the cost of books. Do you know how much money I'm spending on some of these books? $30 or more on hardcovers. It's crazy. And then so that I could get a bestseller for $6 on Kindle when it's on sale. There's really no reason for it. I just don't see that my collection matches what my personal goals are, and I really want to correct that. So I am holding myself accountable on the internet by doing this video. I really, really, really want to start utilizing Libby. I want to start utilizing my library, and I want to start utilizing my Kindle more often, so that way I am lowering the cost of books, A, B, making sure that my collection is safe for my house, apparently, and C, making sure that my collection really reflects my reading goals, my reading personality? Sure, my reading personality. Let's go with that. I want to make sure that my bookshelves actually reflect who I am as a person. I don't want them to just be every book that I've ever read, because every book that I ever read does not mean that I loved those books, does not mean that I resonated with any of those books. There's books on there that I have no emotional attachment to whatsoever, and probably never will. So it's time for me to really do some hard thinking about my book buying habits and my reading habits in general. So this is me hoping that making a video like this will keep me accountable, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you guys feel similarly about your reading habits? Do you notice a trend in this? I'm just really curious what you guys think about this. So leave me comments with suggestions on how I can do this. If you knew that your house was possibly in danger of falling down around you because of how many books you own, or, just in general, tell me how you're doing. I'd love to know. And I will catch you in the next video. Bye.